in retrospect, one of the great things that they did, they were able to control. So within China, 90% of the cases all took place in Wuhan. We really had, I want to say, 3 phases in what I would call our experience here. Weeks 1 through 3, we call the terrible, terrible time. Overnight, literally overnight, everything for us changed here. We returned to Shanghai. The cities were shut down. In Wuhan, you could not leave. You could not leave your places of living at all. You had to have volunteers who would then go get food for you and whatnot. Luckily, in Shanghai, the city closed down, meaning that if you were not a Shanghai resident, you could not come back into the city or working here. But luckily, we came back early, so we were able to avoid being caught outside. But our day-to-day life really was impacted. And I'll share some experiences we had during that time. In my house, I was the only person to leave. My wife and child did not step outside for 3 weeks, literally for 3 weeks. And that is a long time to really just stay inside your home. Most people live in apartment buildings. So what happens instantly is now the access to your apartment is controlled. They must take your temperature to make sure that you are not a carrier or you're not sick. When we say things closed down overnight, everything closed down. Okay, literally overnight. We woke up in the morning. The parks were closed. Uh, the malls were somewhat closed. All the restaurants, most of the restaurants were closed. The ones that were open went to a carry-out only model. Museums were closed. All tourism stopped. Even the hospitals were closed. And you say, well, how can a hospital be closed? Well, hospital was closed because they were concerned that people who were sick would go to the hospital. And at that time, the hospital employees did not have any protective gear. What happened was, if you were sick, you could infect not just the caregivers, but also other people who were there for regular emergency or health emergencies, right? So they somewhat shut that down for a few days, and then only allowed the people who thought they had symptoms. One of the challenges we have here, which you have now, is testing, right? Who gets tested? How do you know if you want to get tested? And some people were scared to get tested because once you're found to have the virus, your life is very much impacted. Your family's quarantined. Everybody in your house must stay in your house. They literally put tape on your door to see if you've left during that day, and they really monitor to make sure you're not going outside. And it makes I got to say, guys, it does make sense because they want to make sure that they're controlling the containment. So, but they would bring you food and supplies on a daily basis. Most folks in the next week, from week 3 to about week 6, we call this the frustrated time. Right? We're worried, we're concerned, but we're not so scared because we have a process inside our house that we use to make sure we're clean, everything is disinfected. We control who goes outside the house. We now know how to get food. The grocery stores, everything that was run out of the grocery store the first week, they now have it back. So supplies are well. Only thing we couldn't get were masks. All the hospital masks were going directly to Wuhan, but we're not as concerned. But now we're frustrated, right? We're frustrated because we're not getting clear, concise information. And most of my friends and colleagues here have more than just one baby at home. So now people are really starting to go stir crazy being inside for so long. And again, when I say folks were not going outside, literally people were not going outside. Dog owners were not going outside, right? So you have to imagine, inside of their homes. I'm a life coach, and we got a lot of people reaching out to us, asking them to help them cope. And there were really two areas here. One was, how can they keep their family energized, moving in their house. Now, again, the typical Chinese family has the mother, father, one or two children, and a set of grandparents in the house. So if you can imagine this in a very small environment, where typically the father or mother or grandfather will get out each day to have a little alone time. Now you're looking at 4 or 5 weeks, everybody has been inside the house. And those houses where you have those grandparents, it was much more important that nobody leaves the house. It was much more important that whoever that one person was really take care of themselves, because when they come back in, they must disinfect themselves, because at the time, older citizens, older people had a high likelihood of really passing away So people were really, really on high alert. And now the wall is starting to close in, right? Also, you have children there who are really getting a little, they don't understand really what's taking place, but really getting stir crazy. So during this time, we found that again, people were more confident in how to avoid the virus, but less confident in being able to mentally and emotionally maintain their calmness. The schools started going to online learning. Initially, when they shut the schools down, they shut it down with no plan. They shut it down, said there's no more school for 6 weeks at least. But there was no plan on what kids would do to educate themselves. So what happened was, about 4 weeks into it, they started moving to online learning, which was great because now the kids are occupied a few hours each day, right? At the same time, parents must oversee and sit with the kids for those 2 hours each day. One, to make sure they're not roaming the internet, and two, to make sure they're really doing their lessons and not asking questions. Organizations who reached out to us for coaching, and I got to say that, the doctors, nurses did a great job being on the front line. On the backside, coaches, counselors, trainers, I think we did a good job as well because a lot of folks, a lot of individuals and organizations reached out trying to get that support. Not in a psychiatrist type way, but more of what can we do going forward, knowing we don't know when things are going to change. What can we do going forward to help us manage what's taking place inside the house? And I think as a country, China did a great job putting family first during this time. Week 7 to where we are now, around week 9, I call this, we can see our way out now. Things have started to flatten out here in Shanghai. So really having the opportunity to have kids outside playing with their mask on, right? But playing together. It really made us feel like things are starting to nobody was leaving the complex. Nobody was going out the complex, but they were still outside. And one thing that was very refreshing, these kids playing never played together before. You say, well, why don't they play together? Well, in China, there's a big focus on education and keeping up with other kids. So after school, kids go to art class, piano class, weekends, school. They never really have opportunity to play outside. And kids who are the same age, 8, 9, 10, never played together before. And now for the past 2 weeks, every day they're playing together. And I think that's a very good thing because now they're starting to enjoy life because hello, there are no piano lessons, there are no painting classes, all those things are shut down. So and parents want their kids out of the house, right? So you've seen a lot of you've seen a lot of kids playing together, and parents who come down to oversee their kids talking to each other, right? So there has been some very good things to come out of there. Most families now are starting to relax. The malls are open again. The China is really pushing us to go out and shop again. So this is where we want you guys to get to, hopefully in a few weeks. The focus now is on returnees or people coming into China, and they're really having to go to a mandatory. Anybody coming into China, mandatory 2 weeks self quarantine.